Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, energetic leadership guide, psychic medium, and somatic coach for ambitious leaders who know their gifts are real and who want to stand fully in them. Here, you'll learn how to trust your intuition, embody your vision, and step into the freedom you've been craving, all without chasing more certifications or carrying stuff that does not belong to you. Every week, I'll share powerful practices and conversations with thought leaders and changemakers that help you transform your vision into embodied confidence, claim your gifts without apology, and lead with both clarity and freedom. Because your gifts aren't cute, they're powerful, they're real, and they're needed. Start today by downloading my free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit. It's the exact tool I use to track what's fueling me and what's draining me. It will help you discern between that hit of achievement and true joy so that you can lead with more clarity and impact. This is your space to stop proving, start embodying, and live fully in your gifts. Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. Hello, and welcome back to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle, energetic leadership guide, psychic medium, somatic coach for intuitive, ambitious leaders who feel everything and who are finally ready to claim their gifts instead of getting overwhelmed by them. And today we're talking about something that every conscious creator and spiritual entrepreneur or empathic artist needs to hear. You're not actually overwhelmed, you're overloaded. And most of the energy, or a great deal of it, isn't yours. And this is one of the biggest reasons why spiritual entrepreneurs, conscious creators, empathic artists get to feeling stuck, scattered, anxious, or unclear. It's because there's so much energy around, and a lot of it's not even yours. And then, because there's so much energy around, you call it intuition because feels like it's coming from someplace outside of yourself, because it is, but it's not intuition. So today I'm going to help you break that pattern. And I'm going to challenge myself. I don't typically do a lot of editing on the podcast, but I'm not going to do editing on this particular episode because I want to share some things with you. Before we even dive into this conversation, I want to talk about a phrase that is very common in the personal development world. And that phrase is, you share from the scar, not the wound. And the meaning is that you've integrated your experiences so that you're no longer emotionally reactive to them. And I understand what it means. And it's coming from a good place because we don't want to trauma dump on each other. We don't need salacious details. We don't need to know the nitty-gritty. But what it's doing is it's making it so that when things are hard, it feels like you're being told you shouldn't share them. And maybe that's just how it's hitting me, but I'm realizing that I keep having that phrase go through my mind. And as I'm trying to show up for you and, living my own yes-filled life, I'm realizing I'm holding back a little bit because of this share from the scar, not the wound thing. Because the truth is, I've had 2 really challenging years back to back. Extraordinarily challenging, where bad things have happened in my personal life, in my professional life, in my business. And I haven't talked about them because I'm not through that integration process. And it's not that I've been trying to keep secrets, but I've been really having this phrase, share from the wound, not the scar, rattling around in my brain. And I'm realizing I'm going to have to do more sharing from the actual wound because the scar isn't here yet. It's still not here. And it's been 2 years in the making and getting ready to do the 3rd year of this process. And at this point, I feel like I'm out of integrity if I don't share some things with you. So understand that I will not ever trauma dump on you. I will always give you a warning if there's anything triggering that is potential in any episode so that you can choose to continue or not. But I need to share some things that have been happening in my life and in my business because of what I teach. It's relevant. And also, I don't want you to think that there's anything wrong with you if things aren't going well. Because if all I'm doing is waiting to share from when the wound is healed and I'm not sharing that I'm going through something, you might think that there's something wrong with you because you're going through something, and that's just not true. We're all going through something. Collectively, we're all going through something right now, and maybe you'll resonate with what I'm going through, maybe you won't, but I think it's really important for me to let go of trying to wait until there's a scar, because we're 2 years into this and the scar is not here. So let's start with this. If you've been feeling anxious, foggy, indecisive, or you make a decision and then all of a sudden you feel like, oh, I don't know if that's the right decision, or you're just thrown off, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not too sensitive. You're not too emotional. You're not too dramatic. You're not inconsistent. It's likely that you're carrying expectations from other people, emotional loads that don't belong to you, people's fears from people in your life and from the collective. Like that, there's a lot of alchemy happening right now around that. You might be carrying expectations of your family members, even if they don't actually have expectations for you. You might be internalizing what you perceive to be their expectations. And then, of course, we have the energy of the collective, which, wow, it's a lot, right? There's a little like confirmation burp hiccup thing right there. I'm not editing it out. This is Brenda Unplugged, except I'm totally plugged in because I'm on a mic and headphones, but you get the point. So excuse me. And then, of course, you have the load from whatever you're carrying from whatever you scroll through, the texts that you get, the social media that you consume, the news. So bottom line is your system is overloaded. And what happens to a piece of electronics when it gets overloaded? Well, it shorts out. Now, I'm not comparing you to a piece of electronics, but you do have energy moving within you. And when you're overloaded, things don't work as well. Like you're more reactive, you're more stressed, you're more anxious. And the other thing that can happen is you can lose your intuition. It's not like it leaves forever, but it just gets buried underneath all the noise. And why is it important for you to be able to trust your own intuition? Because no one knows what's right for you except for you. It is within you. It is within your intuitive knowledge what is the right step. Sometimes we ask for guidance, we ask for feedback from people around us, mostly because we want to confirm what we know. And I think this is why anxiety among spiritual entrepreneurs and conscious creators is really going through the roof right now, because we have energetic saturation and it's harder to hear the intuition. So let's talk about this so you can kind of get a picture of what might be anxiety and what might be intuition. Intuition comes in slowly, and it's not that it's slow moving, but compared to the fast energy and fast thoughts of anxiety, intuition is much more subtle. And it comes in repeatedly, over and over, with thoughts that just arrive almost fully formed in your mind. Like, I should do this thing. I should go to this place. And it almost feels like your brain is nagging you, but there's no emotionality there. It's just like you keep being reminded to do this thing. Now, if it's anxiety, it is very fast moving. You can go quickly into a spiral where you're feeling okay 1 minute and 5 minutes later, the sky is falling. That's anxiety. That's not intuition. Anxiety feels very, very urgent, and intuition feels steady. There's a groundedness that's present with intuition that anxiety just does not have. And here's the biggest thing. when you're carrying other people's energy, it can be hard to hear your intuition over their energy. So what I mean by this is, let's say that you're having a conversation with a loved one. Like, for example, let's take my mom. Let's pretend I'm having a conversation with my mom. So my mom is a tough, brilliant lady, and she's done really well managing emotions since my dad died. But if I were to merge with her and I were to feel her emotions and not maintain what's mine and what's hers, then I could go through life making decisions where I'm filtering every choice I make through her lens and mine. And this wouldn't be her fault at all. This would be me carrying that energy. And when that starts to happen, when we're energetically merged with someone and we're beginning to make decisions filtered through their lens, even though they don't know it, it begins to feel like chaos in our systems. And we become emotionally reactive, and then we can even become angry or resentful to the person whose energy we're carrying, and they don't even know we're carrying their energy. They don't even know it. It's something that we do. And let me do the math for you. So if this is resonating with you, and you feel like maybe you have deep compassion, a high level of empathy, a deep intuition, Elaine Aron did a research study in 1991 and revealed that 20% of the population can be identified as highly sensitive, meaning they have more neuroreceptors and neurotransmitters in their brains than the other 80% of the population. Now, of the people who are identified to be highly sensitive, they literally have a different way of metabolizing sensory input. This is not the same thing as a sensory processing disorder. That's not the same thing. This is not a disorder. This is not something that can be necessarily diagnosed by your doctor. But if you've ever heard, you're too sensitive, you're too much, you're making a big deal out of nothing, you feel everything, chances are you might be highly sensitive. You might also be highly sensitive if sometimes sounds get way too loud, or they just feel like you cannot tolerate that specific sound. It can also happen in lighting, like at the end of the day, you just can't tolerate the fluorescent lights being on anymore, or you have to turn off the overhead lights and turn on the corner lamps. That can be a sign of high sensitivity. Fabric choices are really important to people that are highly sensitive. We tend to like soft fabrics and things that feel really good. Things that are scratchy are an absolute no for somebody with highly sensitive touch kinds of senses. So if you've ever been asking yourself, well, why can't I get clarity? Why can't I access my intuition? Why is my intuition unreliable? Why am I so sensitive? There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You are absorbing everything. You're absorbing energy and emotion that's not yours, and then you're interpreting it as your own. And that is potentially causing some misaligned decisions. So one of the things that can come up with this is, depending on your gifts, maybe it's empathy, maybe it's intuition, but maybe you feel physical sensations from people, like pain. It's really important to ask when you feel big emotions or big pains of any kind, is this mine? Is this mine? And I know you're thinking, well, obviously it's mine, but hold on a second, it might not be. It might not be yours because of the way that you have your gifts. It could be that you literally have access to other people's emotional or physical pain. So when you ask yourself, is this mine? You might get an answer sometimes that yes, it absolutely is yours. And then you know that you can do the appropriate things that would come next, right? But a lot of times you'll ask, is this mine? And the answer will be no. And then my next question is always, what are you here to tell me? What do I need to learn from you? And who do you belong to? And then usually I will notice that the sensation, whether it's emotional or physical, begins to dissipate. So if that is happening to you, invitation to get curious and ask, like literally ask, is this mine? So one of the things that you can do is the zip up method, which I talk about all the time. And that's where you are literally zipping up your energetic field. I cannot emphasize this enough. This needs to happen twice a day, every day, like brushing your teeth, whether you need it or not, which of course you need it, right? You need this too. So you're going to zip up from the base of your torso or from your feet up over the top of your head. And you're going to do that 3 times. Creating this energetic sovereignty with the zip up method is going to literally change your life. I talk about it all the time on the podcast because it is so important. And it is also the thing you're probably not doing. It's probably the thing that you think you'll do. It's probably the thing you mean to do, but you're probably not doing it. So invitation to get it into your phone as an alarm so you remember to zip up, because that is going to be an absolute game changer for you. So if we're having these things that are happening where you're absorbing energy or emotion from other people, what we have is an energetic merge. Now, we do want to maintain our empathy and compassion, right? Those of us that have these gifts, we love them. They make us who we are. We don't want them to go away. They're not a liability. They really are a superpower. And also, we don't want to merge with people so that we don't have clarity around what's ours. And that energetic sovereignty is what is going to amplify your intuition. You're going to be able to feel, see, hear, sense it, know it in so much of a more clear way. Because when your intuition is loud, you're able to make aligned decisions for yourself. And being overstimulated is the number one reason why you can't hear your intuition. And so here's something I see all the time. And by the way, I've done this. So this is not coming from a place of judgment. This is coming from a place of, I have literally been there. That's how I know this stuff is happening. You think that if you just add more protocols, it'll be fine. So you journal more. You double up or triple up on your meditations. You do more breath work. You have a self-Reiki practice. You're reading cards. You're waiting for a sign. And then you find yourself waiting for a signier sign, right? Like, okay, well, that wasn't quite a sign enough. And it wasn't really what I wanted to hear. So now give me a signier sign. Yeah? I've totally done this. In fact, I've been doing it a lot. Give me a signier sign. Because the signs have been around me for a while about what I needed to do. But I didn't want to see them. Clarity doesn't come from thinking. That's really important to get. You cannot think your way into clarity. Clarity comes from taking an action, from engaging in something. And through that process of taking an action and moving towards something, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, now I know either that thing is aligned or it's not aligned. But I promise you, no matter how intelligent you are, no matter how much you think you cannot think your way into clarity. And there's one more piece to this. If your body is not regulated, if your nervous system isn't regulated, if you're in a fear state or an anxiety state or you're exhausted, then it's very difficult to hear that intuition and it's very difficult to get clarity. So your intuition isn't necessarily going to be the first thing that goes when you're dysregulated. You probably will still have access to it. The first thing that goes when you're overstimulated is your peace. You'll lose a sense of peace. So when you notice that you're in an anxious state, you've lost some peace. And then when you start to try to figure it out, oh my goodness, that is actually the point when I would invite you to hit pause. When you get into the, I'm just going to figure this out. Because figuring it out usually doesn't work because you're trying to make what is happening inside your body something mental. Your body is going to hold the wisdom whether or not your intuition is activated through your body. And it is, by the way. It always is. You're trying to make it mental by figuring it out. So, I indicated at the beginning of this episode that there's been some things going on. There have been signs pointing for the last 2 years that what I was doing in the business was not sustainable. It was not sustainable financially, energetically, time-wise. There were a lot of different signs. Overt and subtle, both. But, in the past 2 months in particular, it has become really obvious that it's literally not working. Everything that I have been doing is not what I can continue to do if I want to stay in business. And a lot of it is tied to chronic overgiving. And every time I think that I have learned the new level of how I can resist my own urges to overgive, I discover another way that I have subconsciously found a way around. I'm going to take a drink. So, let me just tell you the story. And by the way, I'm not making anyone bad in telling this story. I'm not making anyone mad, including myself, because I did what I really thought was best at the time. So I have this year-long program. I've talked about it a lot. And the truth is, when I launched it in December of 2024, and I sold 3 spots, I probably should have reevaluated. Looking back, I should have reevaluated how I was going to deliver that program, because it was a year-long program. So it took up, several hours a week, like more than a full workday a week on that program. And with 3 people enrolling at the price point that I had, it's pennies on the dollar, because I didn't get the launch the way that I had planned or hoped. And so, throughout all of 2025, I have been doing little things. I've been, a breathwork session here, a full moon circle here, a Reiki course here. I've been doing all these things trying to fill the stopgap of that failed launch. Oh, and by the way, I've also had 3 other launches that were complete failures in 2024. And when I say failure, what I'm saying about a failed launch is a launch where you have a ramp up period where you're talking about something, and then you have a closing date when the launch is complete. And if a launch is successful, hopefully you will have sold some spots. And I had 3 absolute failures, meaning no spots sold. So there's been something up for a while, and I've known that. And yeah, I've known it. But now I really know it, because I not only know it, but I'm seeing the evidence of trying to ignore the evidence. The evidence of trying to ignore the evidence. And that is really what I meant to say, because, it's been very difficult. In fact, financially, I'm needing to look for additional income. And I'm still in the business. I'm still running the business. I plan to continue to run the business. I'm not giving up. But I feel like it would be not honest with you if I told you that it was working based on appearances alone, because what I have done, what you may have been modeling after, if you're not inside my program, you don't know, because I do talk about this in the program with them about how to avoid overgiving and how to set up offers so that you can rinse and repeat often enough to figure out if it's going to land. And so I'm teaching what I'm learning inside my program. But if you're listening to the podcast and you're like, wow, things just look great over there at Brenda's World, they are great in a lot of ways. I work with the most amazing people. I love my group program, and we added a 4th member in September. I absolutely love it. It's the highlight of my week. I love my private clients. I work with some people one-on-one in a year-long container. I love it. It fuels me. I love teaching Reiki and breathwork and meditation. It is so rewarding. I love giving the readings, and I plan on doing a lot more of it. And in this period of time when, you know, I've had so many different kinds of failed launches in 2025, I'm going to go supplement some things and keep working. And I'm also really simplifying how I'm doing everything. And so one of the things that I've been teaching inside Your Yes Filled Life, which is closing at the end of December, and one of the things I will continue to teach, especially at this retreat that's coming up, is how do you launch a program so that you can leverage your time, you can create transformations for lots of people, how can you sell those offers, and how can you do it in a container that is the right size length so that you can rinse and repeat the launch process to learn where you're making mistakes. Because one of the things that you may have seen me do is I iterate a lot. And what I've been doing this year in all of my iterations is fine-tuning that process. I've been experimenting on myself and on my own business to learn what works and what doesn't. And I'm very excited and proud to say I have figured out what works. I figured out what works. I figured out the program length that people want. I figured out what they want. I figured out what you want out of a program, what the transformation really looks like. And I'm so excited to create that for you in 2026. And that's what we're talking about today is the 2026 thing, because one of the things that's happening in 2026 is the Reset Retreat. And this is designed for people like us, the people like us who are deep feelers, very compassionate, and have a tendency to overgive. So if you are absorbing everything, you feel everything, you want to share your gifts, you're craving clarity, you're craving intuition, you want to serve, you want to figure out a way to share your gifts with the world, whether it's in healing or coaching or a book, and you also want a regulated body that can actually hold on to your next level, you want direction, you want to feel relief, then I want you to know the work that you need to do is more than mindset work. And you don't need another course. You probably know way more than enough right now. You don't actually need more information. What you need is a reset where you can let your system breathe again, or take a drink of water like I'm going to do right now. And I hope you didn't hear that, but I think you might have, because I heard it in my ears. That felt like a text of confirmation. Yeah, so you need a reset where you can get really clear. We can shut down the noise. We can figure out what's yours, what's not. And then from there, your intuition can rise back to the surface. And over 3 days, oceanfront, we'll be live together. There's going to be healing. There's going to be conversations. We're going to validate each other's offers. And I'm going to teach you the process to learn how to ask people what they want to buy from you. I'm so excited about that. So excited about that, because that's been the process that I've been going through since I realized I needed to make this shift. I dedicated the entire month of September to spending time with entrepreneurs and conscious creators in one-on-one calls. And all I did in those calls was I asked questions. And so now I know exactly what my people, that's you, want. And I'm giving it to you in this retreat. And I also know that you have been sold a bill of goods by a lot of fantasy marketers about a couple things. Well, more than a couple, but two that I'm going to address right now. One is, you probably have heard it's just your energy. You just got to fix your energy. And if you were to fix your energy, then everything would be all right. You're just not thinking abundantly enough. If you've heard that, I just want to say, that's just not true. Your energy matters. It absolutely matters. But if all you do is tend to your energy and you don't have the right structures in place, it doesn't make a difference. Because if I have the right energy and I'm posting the wrong things on my social media, it isn't really going to matter, because the wrong things will turn off my people. If I have the right energy, which I did through all those 4 offers that failed, if I have the right energy, I think you can agree. My energy, I mean, it ebbs and flows just like everybody's does. But, overall, my energy is very consistent. It definitely took a hit when my dad died, but overall, my energy is pretty consistent. My energy is not the problem. And you want to know how I figured this out? I got support. I got help. I've been working with 2 mentors this year. I worked with Marie Forleo up until about July. And that was what made me realize, oh, I need to be on the phone, on the Zoom calls with my people. And a lot of things started to kind of reconfigure in July. And I was so pleased. I am so pleased with the progress from working with Marie Forleo. I worked with her in 2 programs and even got live hot seat coaching with her. It was absolutely incredible. And I've been working with Tiffany Carter in her program, Selling at Scale. And I'm so excited because not only does it help me in my business, but it's going to help me help you in yours. Because Tiffany Carter is such a shoot it straight, just down to brass tacks, here's what you do, here's what you don't do kind of person, that it really works for me. And it clarified exactly what I want to help you create, whether it's a book or an offer. And so I want to make sure that you understand that I'm going to be doing this work just a few steps ahead of you, which means I'm right in the fire with you. I'm not so far removed from the journey that I don't remember what it's like, because I'm in it with you because of how these last 2 years have gone. And I also have the resources and the tools and the structures and the strategies and the mentors in place to be able not only to support myself, but to help support you. And one of the most valuable things that I learned about mentorship in 2024 and 2025 is that, well, let me back it up by saying something not so positive. I recently learned that there are a lot of people in the personal development industry, especially in business coaching kinds of things, that are using neuro-linguistic programming to sell their offers. And that's why when you're on their webinar, you find yourself reaching for your credit card and you're like, I promised myself I wasn't going to do this again. What's happening? What's happening? And then you sign up and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. And next thing you know, you're doing things that are outside of your values and you're asking yourself, what is happening? Well, neuro-linguistic programming. You're literally being hypnotized by people in this industry. And I have thought that for a while, but I just got confirmation. And so if you felt like you fell victim to some fantasy marketing, yeah, me too. Me too. And the second thing I want to tell you is we all need mentors. We all need mentors. And I only work now with mentors who have mentors. I won't work with somebody if I don't think they have mentorship. Because the truth is, we all need someone to ask. We all need someone to ask. And one of my biggest, most impactful mentors and friends is Kathy Kearns, owner of Reiki Renewal, and she is coming to this retreat. And so I can't wait for you to get to meet her, spend some time with her. And if as I'm talking about this retreat, let me just paint the picture for you, okay? You're going to arrive in Lincoln City, Oregon. It is a beautiful town. Some of the best tidal pools on the West Coast are in Lincoln City, Oregon. And I'm not just saying that. And you know how much I love the beach and how much time I spend there? These are the tidal pools. And we're going to be cliffside. That means up on a cliff over the bay, watching the Pacific Ocean. We have access, a little trail that goes down to the beach. So weather dependent, we can take walks on the beach, but no matter what, we're going to have a killer view of the beach. There are undercover balconies, which are a really important thing in Oregon because it might rain. It sometimes does that. But the undercover balcony means you can sit out there and not be in the rain. And so we'll be gathered together in this incredible space with floor to ceiling windows, as a community, a very intimate cohort, no more than 10. And we're going to be gathered together for 3 days. And we're going to be working through what needs to be healed, what you're letting go of, and what you're calling in. Because the truth is, you're not too much. You're not broken. You're not confused. You are intuitive. And you have incredible gifts that the world needs. The world needs your gifts. And so if you felt like, oh my gosh, this sounds so exciting, this sounds so appealing, I want you to apply. Now, the application is not so that I can say, no, you don't deserve to come. The application is so that I make sure that you and I both feel like it's a good fit. Because if you're doing really, really well as an entrepreneur and you're making over $15,000 a month, this retreat probably, you're welcome to come, but I want to have a conversation with you to say, I'm not sure this retreat is for you, because this is for the people who are building from 0 to 15,000 a month. So if you're in that category of building to 0 to $15,000 a month, I want you to apply, and we're going to talk about what your business needs, because I want to make sure that this is the right thing for you. And I'm doing this because out of integrity, it's really important for me to make sure that this is going to help you on your next step. And so if it's not aligned, I'll tell you. And if it's not aligned and I tell you, I'm like, this feels like it might be not quite what you need. Maybe you need like a more advanced retreat, which will be coming later in 2026. You can still make the choice to come if you want, but go ahead and apply, because I think it'll be great to have a conversation. And that's all this does, is it opens the door for conversation. So you can go to brendawinkle.com/reset retreat. Check it out, look it over, put in your application, and maybe we can be together in March 2026 on the Pacific Ocean, because we're going to be doing some big things at this retreat. There's a lot of big energy that needs to move. I know you can feel it too. And as for me, I'm more committed to this, to you, to the podcast, to my business, to my mission than I've ever been. And the truth is, had I not gone through everything that I went through in 2024, 2025, I don't think I would have known how committed I am. And I also don't think I would have been able to guide you as well, because there were signs that the doors were falling off long before the doors fell off. And I didn't know that's what was happening, because I was, at the time in 2024, I was being mentored by somebody different. And a lot of the things that I went to that mentor with, I was told, well, it's just your energy. It's just your energy. You're just not doing the work. You're just not doing the things. And that was not true. And now I have proof that it was not true, because things just, anyway, I don't want to do too much on that. But the point is, I'm really excited for where we're going. And I hope you don't mind me staring from the wound, because it is like, it feels a way. It feels a way to be closing down this program. This program was my very first program. It started as Yes Academy, and then it merged into Second Chapter, and then it's been your Yes-Filled Life. And it's been the bread and butter of my business for the last 4 years. And I love it. I love the people that I've met. I love the transformation that it's given, like the lives that have changed as a result of this program. Oh, wow. I'm emotional thinking about it. And yet I know we're moving into different waters. So I'll share what's next as soon as it's solidified. But in the meantime, I'm focusing on the Spiritual Entrepreneur Collective membership, which is now enrolling, and this retreat. And then stay tuned, because there's some big things coming in 2026, both on the podcast and in life. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the journey. Thanks for listening. And if you're enjoying the podcast, would you please give me a rating and review? It would mean so much. I got to be really transparent and say, there's not been any ratings or reviews given on the podcast since like May. So it's telling me either you're resisting giving ratings and reviews, or I'm not hitting the mark. And if it's I'm not hitting the mark, tell me what would. What is it that you want to hear? I'm an open book. I want this to be supportive for you. Thanks for listening. Bye for now. Until next time.